I do not think that we are close to armed conflict and this is precisely why we have NATO. This is about deterring aggressive behavior by other countries, including Russia.
Tomorrow, Russia and Belarus are going to be beginning a major wargaming exercise. The last time they did that was in the build-up to the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. They'll be simulating an offensive against NATO. Hypersonic missiles, mock nuclear strikes are all expected to be part of the exercise. I can talk now to Estonia's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Sven Sakkov, who joins me here in the studio. Ambassador, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you here. Tell me your judgment on this, Ambassador, if you can. This latest war game exercise, these manoeuvres in Belarus, do you consider that they signify a heightened threat from Vladimir Putin, or does it tell us more of what we already know?
Well, this is not the first Zapad exercise. Zapad in Russian means the West. We do it every year in one strategic direction, and they have been very ominous and with a very alarming kind of scenario what we know of since at least 2009, after a Russian invasion of Georgia and occupying 1/5 of the Georgian territory. That time it was reported also by the media that the exercise scenario involved nuclear weapons and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's not a new thing, and I should not think that we should be very worried about right now, because of course Russian armed forces are very much engaged now in the war of aggression against Ukraine.
Yes. At the same time, of course, and thank you for that perspective. At the same time, we saw yesterday the incursion into Polish airspace by Russian drones, and now we have seen, well, the restrictions have been placed on entry to airspace by your neighbouring countries, your allies, Lithuania and Latvia. Estonia has not done that, I think. Can you tell me why you may be taking a different approach?
Well, we are further away from Belarus, from Ukraine. I think those kind of restrictions on parts of the airspace is quite a logical thing to do in order to sort things out. I think it's important to note here that during this drone incident, NATO worked well, as it is supposed to, both militarily, when Polish, German, Dutch and Italian Air Force work together with NATO's common asset, which is the AVAX, the kind of surveillance system. And it worked well on a political level. Poland called for consultations under the Article 4 of NATO Common Treaty.
Yes.
And the outcome was kind of a very clear solidarity resolve on the part of NATO and NATO allies.
Yes. I mean, of course, you do act in your country of Estonia when a threat or a potential threat is perceived. Just a few days ago, a Russian helicopter entered your airspace. You called in the Russian ambassador and you made your feelings clear. Now, as you say, we saw NATO allies coming together under what is called Article 5 of the NATO Treaty, which is a process of consultation at a moment of tension. Article 4, forgive me, where the members of the NATO alliance come together and just share their thoughts on where we are. I'm presuming that sort of consultation and coordination goes on all the time anyway.
Under Article 4, to the best of my knowledge, this is the 8th time in alliance history. The last time it was actually end of February 2022, after the start of the Russian large-scale war. What is, of course, important is not that just allies talk. Talk is also important. Ask a diplomat. But it's important, actually, that it will lead to concrete results, like, for example, strengthening of NATO's air defense in the eastern flanks.
Yes, and we've heard of more NATO allied jets being posted to the Polish border, and the Royal Air Force, among others, have been flying police patrols along that border for some while now. I was talking to the former head ambassador of the British Army yesterday, Lord Danners. Now, he suggested that concern and alarm at the threat from Russia decreased along with the distance from the border with Russia. Do you agree with that?
Might be the case. I mean, sometimes it's said that, it depends on how far you are from Ukraine, and that, for example, a country X, Y, or Z in Europe is further away from Ukraine, and that's why they don't feel the threat so clearly as we do. Actually, it's very weird how, when you look at the map, that, for example, just picking a bigger example, Germany is closer to Ukrainian border than Estonia is.
Yeah.
You would not think of that in a way. But I think very clearly we in Estonia, we have lived next door to Russia in its different manifestations for a long time. We were not among those who thought that the peace has come to Europe for eternity, as many did 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I think very clearly 99% of Europe is now on the same opinion.
99% of Europe, which is that we may be alarmingly close to armed active conflict with Russia. That is your view too?
I do not think that we are close to armed conflict because, and this is precisely why we have NATO. This is about deterring aggressive behavior by other countries, including Russia.
Yes. I mean, look, for deterrence to work, it's just in the definition of the concept of deterrence. The NATO alliance needs to be strong enough to bring home to Putin, because he, of course, is the potential aggressor, that any kind of conflict would go badly for Russia, that he could not win because he'd be facing overwhelming force and a united resolve to resist and fight if necessary. America has always been such an important part of that puzzle. President Trump, is he now a worry to you in that it's felt, does your country feel, he simply sees European security as a European problem and can therefore no longer be counted on to defend Europe and the common interests of the allies in the west of Europe and in the border of Russia and NATO?
It's just a couple of months ago when we had the Hague summit of NATO. President Trump was there. Everything what NATO stands for was reaffirmed. So I'm not really worried about that. Maybe the optics and maybe rhetorics are a bit different than we have used to.
Okay. I mean, the German government, you'll have seen this, I'm sure. They have said, of course, they're going to strengthen their commitment to the eastern border of NATO. Now, there is a leaked document which suggests that the German military need to add another 100,000 personnel to their forces on that border. At the moment, it's 62,000. That is a rather alarming analysis, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I have not seen that particular leaked document. What I know and what we can all attest to is that, of course, NATO has and the European nations have to take defense seriously, invest in that. My own country will be spending 5.4% of GDP on defense, military defense next year, 3.4% this year. We are taking it seriously, and so should all Europe.
Yeah, and that is an increase in defence spending well beyond what's being complicated in comparison to GDP by so many other NATO allies. Ambassador, pleasure to talk to you as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.